So I just saw a movie called Kuso, and it's probably the worst intentionally bad movie I have ever seen. It's a movie that David Lynch would make if he lost all his artistic prowess and talent. It's a movie that Ryan Reynolds would make if he got a script from a 12-year-old that just learned the F word. It's a movie that Red Letter Media would make if they lost all their comedic wit. So, clearly no one of talent made this movie, which means, who made this movie? I have the answer, of course, because I've seen it.
Listen to that guy over there.
We should take you to the doctor.
His name is Flying Lotus, aka Captain Murphy, for some reason, and aka Steve, for some reason. And all three of these names are credited in the movie itself, which makes literally no sense, but I'll move past that. He's best known for his music and his soundtrack for various movies, even though I have literally heard none of his work. I've heard a few of his songs in movies occasionally, but I've never been blown away by anything I've heard, and again, I haven't really listened to his music, so I can't really talk too much about his talent musically, because I just don't know, really. But if this is his style, if this is his thing that he wants to keep pursuing, then I can already tell that his personality, his persona, his motif is not for me. I know a lot of people are giving this movie a pass because it's very experimental, but for me, that alone is not enough. Now, I want to commend the fact that it is different, because it is different, and it's weird, and it's gross, and it's kind of vile, and very, very unique in a sense. And there's this sort of underlying context through this movie where I guess Flying Lotus wanted to explore humanity if everyone just accepted the fact that they're disgusting.
I always wanted to show people how ugly they can be. You know, I always wanted to show them their ugly asses.
Not just physically, but emotionally,
absolutely,
and mentally
absolutely.
ugly in this movie as well.
Absolutely, I think part of the apocalypse is people have just like fully embraced all that stuff.
And he certainly does that. Yet this seems to be the only thing that Kuso has going for it. There really isn't anything more than just it's gross to this movie, and for that reason, it often comes off feeling like a one-trick pony. Now, granted, that one-trick pony is pretty disgusting, and a lot of the scenes are seared into my brain for one reason or another. Now, there are movies like The Greasy Strangler that are gross, much like Kuso, but its grossness helps to tell its story or to make you feel a certain way. Here, grossness is used as a substitute for everything. There isn't really a story, there really isn't characters, and there really isn't anything enjoyable about this movie. So, in the end, this disgusting thing that it has going for it really is all it has going for it. And the movie does realize this, so it markets it off the back of that like crazy. Everyone's coming out of it saying, it's so disgusting, it's so vile, it's depraved, it's awful, don't see it. But then, of course, that stirs the controversy. Oh, I should see this. Why is it so gross? I want to find out. And the movie realizes that, so it uses this word of mouth, this disgusting word of mouth, to promote itself. And, it's smart. But I feel like I should talk about the story here, because I guess there is sort of one. The movie chronicles events of LA after a major earthquake, and so all the survivors of this major earthquake, I guess, have become mutants, or have disgusting things about them, like these horrible rashes on their face and blisters and burns and stuff, and they've completely accepted that disgustingness of themselves, and they're just happy to be alive after this major fallout, I guess. And it tells the story of random people in this sort of anthology-like context, but it's not directed by anybody different. Flying Lotus helms all of the anthology stories along the way through this movie, and all of them, for that reason, all of them feel the same.
I don't understand. I can cure your ass, but you got to be willing to finish the procedure. Skin me alive. I survived, and I can barely believe it.
It's amazing.
But it's too late. Death is on your hell.
And I mean, like I said, there's not really a story to get attached here, but that can be okay. Not having a story is not necessarily a bad thing. If you have compelling characters, if you have social or political commentary, or even action or comedy to fill in its place, then usually it's okay to not have a complex story, just to have something very simple to hang things on, hang characters or action or comedy or like political commentary, social commentary, racial commentary, all these things that you could do in place of a story. But here, it doesn't do any of them. It just blatantly does nothing. And even though this movie is listed as a comedy, there are no jokes in this movie. Everything is just a poop, a fart, a pee, a butt, or a sex joke. And that is all that this movie has to offer. These are not jokes. This is a joke.
Yeah, I mean, is he one of them, or is he one of them?
Wait, which ones are the thems again?
Well, they're both thems, aren't they? But there's two ways of saying it. Is he one of them, or is he one of them?
This is not a joke.
Damn, you guys even killed Muffy.
We ain't murder nobody, B. We, just sent them somewhere else.
What? You banished them?
I mean, we didn't, but okay.
This is all the movie has going for it. And that is why this movie is incredibly frustrating and incredibly grating to watch, because it has nothing to offer. It literally has nothing interesting to offer. And so this disgustingness that it markets itself as gets incredibly numbing throughout the whole movie. By the end, I just did not care about anything that was happening because that's all it had. If you have these little spurts of disgustingness and the characters are kind of gross on themselves, but then they do disgusting things every once in a while, that can be more of a shock than them literally just being disgusting the whole time, because it feels like a plateau. And you know what plateaus are? Boring, because there's nothing. This is nothing. But honestly, this sort of an idea could have been interesting. This sort of an idea is unique, where we're taking a look at a dystopian future almost, or a dystopian present, where everyone is happy living in their own filth, and it kind of tells this story through an anthology. That's a great idea. I think Flying Lotus had a great idea for this movie, but movies are not made off of ideas. Movies are made off of execution. And the ideas here are far more interesting than anything that he executes on screen. The idea here is the only thing that this movie has that's interesting. And in literally any other filmmaker's possession, possibly, this could have been better. If it was made by a studio, it could have been better. If it was made by an actual filmmaker, this could have been better. If it was in anybody else's hands, I think this could have been a fun movie. But Flying Lotus just doubles down and triples down and quadruples down on it's disgusting, that it feels like it's one note. It feels like a one-trick pony. And that is, again, all it has. And that is why this movie sucks. This is why this movie is stupid. And this is why I don't like this movie at all. And I know I'm getting really frustrated because there is a good movie here. And I wanted to see it, and I kind of, you get a small glimpse of it a few times throughout the movie with some inspired bits.
You know, the procedure for a fool to recognize his wiser self requires the pulverizing, undoing. Of all his fears.
By the end, I just didn't want to watch anymore. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to hear it. And this is especially worse because Flying Lotus wanted to make every sound effect in the movie an overblown, over-exaggerated cartoon noise for literally no reason. And that is what the best way to describe this movie. There is no reasoning to anything. There is no purpose to anything. Everything is just happening, and everything just is there to be there. So the disgusting, overblown sound effects are only there to be there. The stupid and awful performances sometimes are just there to be there. The disgusting, depraved, vile, whatever you want to call it, humor, if I can call it humor, is only there because that's the only thing he knows. There's no purpose, there's no grounds, there's no root for any of it. It's just the most surface level, boring movie that I have seen in a long time. So in the end, there is no way I can recommend this movie, not even just out of morbid curiosity. Can I tell you to go see this movie? Like, if you have any desire to see it, I will probably tell you not to, unless you just have to see it. But other than that, there's just nothing to this movie to recommend. There's nothing to this movie that's interesting or compelling or thought-provoking or interesting or dynamic or anything. There's just nothing here. There is, it's devoid of everything. The filmmaking, I guess, is okay, and the idea behind it's interesting enough, and it's weird. It's unique. It's definitely not a Marvel movie, which, I mean, I can respect to some degree, but you have to make some attempt to make a movie. You have to make some attempt to do something with your unique idea, and Flying Lotus just doesn't.
I was just tired of, not seeing black filmmakers push it. It's all been the same over and over. Kid escapes the ghetto. He's brilliant, but he's from the hood. Got all these horrible influences around him, and he's got to deal with the racial segregation in his neighborhood and, white supremacy and all that stuff. I was like, I want to make something else. Let's just do something a little different.
So in the end, I'll probably give this a 2. I don't hate it, surprisingly. I'm just annoyed at it because of how good it could have been. But I can't hate it because it is different, and it's just obnoxious. It's really annoying. It's really obnoxious. It's stupid. It's borderline ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's not borderline ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I don't know. I don't like it. So that's all I have to say about it. So goodbye.